Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Seek Sustainable Japan. I'm JJ Walsh in Hiroshima. I have a little bit of a cold, so excuse my husky voice. Today, I have the amazing Elly Hirano, who is a sustainability consultant now based in rural Kyoto area of Kamioka. Thanks so much for joining, Ellie.
Thank you, JJ. It's an honor to be here. I'm so excited for the show.
Nice. It's so great to have you. I do sustainability consulting for the tourism business organizations, also for guides. How can we be more sustainable when we're introducing Japan to international visitors? You have worked a lot with corporate, so we've got a lot of great insights and great projects to talk about. I'm excited to get started.
Yes.
How did you first get interested in living a more eco life? You talk about being more than 20 years. You haven't eaten meat and you always bring your own bottle and furoshiki and cloth and cutleries and a bag. So you already have this habit going for more than 20 years. So where did the spark start? How did you get interested? Do you remember?
I often get this question, but it's just like been my whole life. Like, I guess I've been an eco enthusiast for my entire life, and I guess, kind of like to the extent that I'm kind of like a mania of being, like having this spirit of mottainai and actually trying to, save as much as possible. Like I still remember like in middle school, I don't know what the professor, the teacher asked me, but like I actually replied like, "Oh, I'm trying to save trees, but by actually using like less plies for toilet paper." And I got this like dead silent in the room, but I mean, yeah, like I really don't know what sparked me, but I was from the beginning like that kind of kid that was trying to somehow be eco-friendly.
That's
Yeah.
that's great. Did you love, like, being outdoors as a kid? Did you have a grandma who was, like a Muay Thai challenger, or anybody in your family who kind of inspired you, or any teacher along the way? It's always interesting to hear, like, from people what kind of started them on this path, you know?
Yeah, I was trying to like recollect like what actually sparked me because I moved around a lot. I'm a third culture kid, so I moved around a lot. And like the first few years I was in Bahrain in Middle East, so there was like back in the days there was like nothing. There's only the camels and such. So not much of a nature, it's just a desert. And the next few years like in Singapore, lots of nature, but it's not like, I interacted a lot with the nature. But constantly I was think that like my mother actually might have been an inspiration that like she would actually um reuse all like the wrapping papers to actually make like to cover the books or like try to like actually recycle like reuse as much as possible, so she might have been an inspiration back in the days. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much from, previous generations, older Japan, that I think we can bring back, right? Which is so relevant now. In Hiroshima, we're one of the biggest producers of, well, the biggest producer for Japan of oysters. And so we have a lot of the bamboo floating oyster rafts, right? And
Yeah.
I met a Maine sustainable oyster farmer who came over and was doing consulting and educating here, and a lot of the advice she was giving about reusable bamboo baskets, for example, a lot of the local farmers were saying, "Oh, wow, we used to do that 50 years ago." And then now seeing all the plastic pollution in the ocean, thinking it is time to bring back those solutions we were using because they're better. Now we know they're better. You must see a lot of examples like that too in the education and the consulting work that you're doing. Like, bring it back from the old style, right?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm actually focusing on right now. Actually, like learning from like the local traditions that can inspire, like modern day. So there's a concept called circular economy that I'm focusing on right now. It's it's something that I really admire. And the term was coined by Kitabayashi Sao-san from Cos Kyoto. And it's basically, Edo is like the period of Japan, like Edo period was when Japan was like the most prosperous and peaceful and essentially zero waste, like saving everything from hair to ashes and everything. But back in the days, they just did that not because they were really eco-conscious or eco-warriors or anything, but it was just the way of living. And it was just atarimae, like just a norm to actually a common sense to actually be circular and to reuse everything and repurpose it and such. So everything was naturally regenerative. And I'm with Cos Kyoto, like who Kitabayashi-san, I actually, when I moved to Kyoto, Kameoka, like in February, the first thing I did was actually go see him because I was so passionate about this economy. And now I work with him to get together to actually create like cultural immersion programs for businesses to actually get inspiration from those like local traditional um, craftsmanship, because like the Satoyama villages in Japan, like the rural areas in Japan, and also like the traditional craftsmanships are the ones that actually, some of them are actually preserving the economy element of how to be more in touch with the nature, and how to use like the how to be sustainable. And so we bring people to those craftsmen and those area, and that for them to actually understand like how the nature. So like we bring them first to the 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 surrounding, like the shrines and the waterfalls, and then we go to the workshops of for example like a washi paper making designer and such, so that they have kind of like a wholesome idea of like the ecosystem of how the lives are of those like craftsmen. And then people get inspiration from like different areas, like from the product design to like just the natural ecosystem and such. And like it's kind of like a reminder that like you can get innovation is not just from like new technologies. There's actually a full-on rich history of how we lived in sustainably, because 100 years ago we didn't have any plastic, we didn't have any of these digital tools or and those are recent developments. So why don't we just go back to tap into all these like rich resources that we had before. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I've been working on and will
Yeah.
be focusing on this year. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Have you read Asby Brown's book, Just Enough? It's
Hmm.
all about the Edo era
Oh
and
yeah.
all the circularity and sustainability at use during that time. And he has wonderful illustrations that he writes. And I've had him on the show talking about the circular economy of the Edo period. So definitely something to check out as well. And he might be also at the Minka preservation event coming up in your area. I'm not sure he can make it, but I think Alex Kerr, also a big proponent of bringing back the old, but making it relevant for modern life. And hopefully you're in Kamioka, Alex Kerr is as well. It'd be great if you guys can meet up. Very
I
kindred
know.
spirits, right?
I know. I want to meet all these people.
Yeah, yeah.
Enjoy force. I mean, we should.
For sure, for sure.
Uh,
I think there's I felt so encouraged when I went to the Minka Summit event, and so many kindred spirits, so many like-minded people coming together, so many amazing, interesting, creative ideas. You feel less alone in what you're trying to do with a passion, and that's also really psychologically important, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your projects you've done in the past. Is this tree planting when you were working at MedLife? There's such a cute photo.
Yes. So So I used to work in a corporate called MetLife. I worked there for almost 15 years, and in New York and London and Tokyo, doing marketing, HR, and strategy and different stuff. But like this was one of like my the more recent project that I had the honor to actually run this like digital adoption project to push people to actually, I shouldn't say push, but to incentivize people to actually like take upon like digital um, um, services instead of like doing all those like servicing for insurance in paper. So in order to incentivize people to actually use our digital tools, we actually said that like paperless actually going digital would actually help in a way that to preserve trees and such. So we actually matched it with like tree planting actions. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which one, but in Japan, like we don't really do need more trees. We actually need more maintenance of trees. So we couldn't do a project in Japan, but I actually found an organization, a Japanese organization that actually does tree planting in Indonesia in a very remote village. So yeah, we said that like for every sign up for digital services, like we would actually plant trees, and we were able to plant I forgot how many trees, but there in Indonesia, and I actually went there to see how it is, and that's the photo.
Yeah, that's so nice. I was just reading on Blue Sky about a project in Japan by an oyster farmer who was planting trees, and then he found the quality of his oysters was higher because the water was cleaner coming from the mountains because of the tree planting. So that really circular kind of thinking, which you're always so focused on, it's so nice to hear that other parts of Japan, there are people as well really passionate and who see that direct connection between tree planting, taking care of the forest, arborists getting in there and thinning out forests that are too dense and making them healthier. That's a big issue in Japan right now.
Yeah.
Having too many cedar, man planted forests where it's all one kind of tree and everybody's allergic to that one kind of tree, right? So there's a lot we can do to improve our forests in Japan for sure. Let's see.
Definitely.
And then your work in other parts of Asia, that also has really good effects back to Japan. This is something Tova often talks about with her work with Refugees Empowerment International, how doing work to empower entrepreneurs in other parts of Asia, these are people that in the future might come and live and work in Japan because of that connection, because of that support. It's all really important for peace and collaboration and entrepreneurship. There's so many wonderful knock on effects, right?
Definitely, yeah.
You had another thing for MetLife here, the Echo Challenge. What was this about? Can you explain it?
So this is a program run by the Global MetLife, and it's basically like 2.5 weeks of forming a team and actually committing to do um, eco-friendly actions. For example, in you can see here that like people committed to actually using their own bottles, or like going meat-free and vegan, or like they would kind of stop using too much like shower, or like when they're brushing their teeth, like they would stop the tap and such, like all these like really like minor actions, but it accumulates. So it started with like very minor activity, but I had the honor to actually participate, and I actually won as a global kind of like champion, and then like Japan told me to actually lead it, so I led, and I was so passionate about it, so I was able to grow the number of participants and such, and that's how I got in touch, or I was amazed by how many people were actually um, actually passionate about it and were eco-conscious, because I was before that I was quite a closeted like eco warrior. Like I wouldn't really like speak out about, you know, like my thoughts and such, and I would have my little like my cutlery with me, but I would never talk about, oh, you should have or anything. But I was really encouraged by how many people were actually had the same mindset as me. And that's how I actually created a volunteer team within the company called Green Team, to just kind of like form a community, and then um, to drive all these like eco-friendly actions within the company.
That's awesome. It's something I do when I do tours with international visitors. They often talk about how there's no paper towels in the bathrooms. And sometimes there's no air dryer either. And then I explain, like before COVID, they were reducing waste and getting rid of the paper towels. And then they added the air dryers. But then during COVID, it was like spreading germs with the air. So some of them are stopped. So what you can do, I always recommend, is carry around a little towel and dry your own hands after. And, most guests are just like, whatever, that's too much trouble. But some guests are like, what a great idea. Like, what a small thing I can do and reduce the cost of running the public toilets, which everybody raves about, how clean, wonderful all the Japanese public toilets are. But also, like a habit that they might even take back and use in their own country is pretty cool, right?
Definitely, yeah. Like that, I think tenugui, the I don't know how you say it in,
Yeah, yeah.
in English, but
The
like, you know,
small,
this long cloth, a very traditional Japanese cloth is like marvelous. Like it's multi-purpose, and you know, it can be a handkerchief, it can be something else. Like,
for
yeah.
sure.
So I usually carry a tenugui, which is really awesome. Yeah.
And multi-use. You can dry your hands. You can also wear it as a headband if you get
Mm-hmm.
sweaty, or, like a variety of ways to use it. Sit on it if it's a
Yeah.
kind of a dirty place that you're sat down, or I mean, just you see people who are obsessed with collecting tenugui, kind of like every area they go to, buy a tenugui, different one as a souvenir. And then you've always got interesting ones, cute ones to use. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Another project you were doing is Climate Launchpad. Can you talk about this a little bit?
Yes, so apart from my corporate work, I was actually participating, or rather, I'm one of the founding members, but I we had an organization called Purpose Driven Innovation Ecosystem, PDIE Group. The So the founder Christian Schmitz and Yuichi Terada. So Terada-san was my ex-colleague, and when I was kind of like trying to get into the sustainability realm, I contacted him, and he actually got me into this organization. It's an organization to co-create a better future. So it's about like linking all these like game changers. So I got to meet a lot of different academias to like startups and to all the different kind of people, which was great and gave me, you know, the confidence to actually become an independent sustainability freelancer. But this was one of their projects. Climate Launchpad is a big green startup competition, pitch contest, and we did the Japanese secretariat of the Climate Launchpad, and we run for like 3 or 4 years, and last year we paused, and this year apparently it's gonna happen again. But the first few years I was in charge of it, and it was really wonderful that like we were able to actually produce some great startups that would actually make it to the global um, competition as well and win some prize. But it's basically an incubator. Like they're they only have like this like idea on a piece of paper, and we actually try to actually develop their ideas and help them to create their pitch, and then they pitch. And some of them are drop out, and then they kind of can't make it to the end. But some ideas are just brilliant. So it's a great initiative, and really encouraging. If you have an idea, please sign up to Climate Launchpad, because it's a really good system to learn and to grow as a startup. Yep.
That's awesome. And that sounds in some ways very similar to your work with Enteleco in terms of One Young World. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the with Enteleco, we run this program called Sustainability Entrepreneurship Program. So this is entrepreneurship. So it's within the company. We're trying to build the entrepreneurship spirit. And so we have like these young leaders in the corporate um, signed up, and then we train them to have entrepreneurship mindset, and then we take them to this global under 30 summit called One Young World, which last year it took place in Montreal, Canada. And just to inspire them, because initially, like, they're just salarymen, so very very closeted, like they follow instructions, but they're not really good at actually being vocal about their opinions, or they might not even have their opinions, and they're very narrow-minded, so they're like, what, like I don't know, like I don't have too much opinions about it. So we push their boundaries to actually think about the ecosystem, like how everything impacts each other, and what is it for the company, like for the society, like what's good, what's beneficial, and like they would kind of like push them. So, and then once they come back from the One Young World, they 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 got inspiration from other younger leaders of their age, and then they come back and they start thinking about their own business um, that they need to pitch to the senior management. And after like 3 months or something, like they actually pitch to the senior management. And yeah, this year I was very lucky, because it was my first time actually coaching and training them, but my team actually went through, and they're now actually going to be realizing their their the pitch that they made, like their business that they
Congratulations.
proposed.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. That must
yeah.
feel so good, right? When you're working with them, you feel like it has potential, and then they come through and they actually get the support they need to make it happen.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like so great to see them like flourish, from this like very close, kind of like narrow-minded person, to like all of a sudden they're just like boom, like very vibrant, very vocal about their opinions. They might clash, amongst themselves, but they kind of collaborate together very well, and then like they start adding ideas, because we actually train them to do, what if, and like yes and yes and like try to keep them like motivated, and spark like a lot of thoughts. So they really embrace that, and at the end, like, they become another person, and they become a change maker for the company. And some of the previous participant actually left the company to actually do and actually make their own startup and such. So it's really fun to see how people shift their mindset, and pretty much like that's what I do across different work that I do right now. Like, I feel like um the bottom line, like, foundation is that, like, I'm trying to actually provide those aha moments, and to shift the mindset of whoever the attendees are.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, absolutely. Another thing you're doing with Enteleco is a fintech, the Future Fit training, the Nordic program, which sounds really exciting.
Ah, yeah, the Finland program. Yes. So this is with the Aalto EE, which is the Aalto University um, executive education. What do you call, like, business school? So we partner with them, and this is like the same idea as like the Young World like sustainability entrepreneurship program, but for the corporate leaders. So like age doesn't matter. Like everyone needs inspiration, and we just are partnering with Alto to actually provide the leaders, like middle to senior leaders of a corporate, to actually get inspiration from how Finland and Finnish companies are being so successful, because Finland is number one in sustainability, number one in happiness, and I think number seven in innovation as well. So they're up there doing something really good. But then they also have this kind of like traditional values, which actually resonates a lot with like Japan and Asian countries. So they're not like, like all full on, like very Western and very kind of like, innovative and progressive people. They're also kind of like grounded and traditional as well. So there are quite a lot of like things that we can actually, we as an Asian can actually learn from them. So we're actually going to be hosting this program so that the corporate leaders can come to learn about the Finnish values and Nordic leadership, and then they come back and then we can plan the action planning so that they can actually bring it back to their business.
That's great. That sounds like a great program as well. And it brings back that idea, like bringing in solutions and strategies from outside Japan, and then actually once you try to apply it here, there's so much relevance, and people are already kind of there, like because of what used to happen, or because they're already kind of thinking it. So sometimes you just need that innovation idea to come in, and then it actually connects quite well sometimes with Japan, right? It's wonderful.
Yeah, so I usually say, like innovation is not just technology, it's the leadership, the mindset and everything. You need those like in order to innovate. Like you need like someone whose mindset is in the right mode and a believer of whatever the solution is to drive those innovations. So, like tech is there's so much focus on tech, but really you need people to develop the mindset.
Training a, or even introducing a different way of thinking about these problems or strategies, and just thinking about things as possible instead of impossible is often an important change too, right?
Definitely, yeah.
You've also been, I mean, this is also connected training to education, of course. You've also done education programs, building like SDG understanding with high school students here. You did a collaboration with different kinds of games that you can play about recycling, the recycling master game, the circular economy, circular community game. When you're working with younger people in Japan, what do you notice? Like, what are the hurdles, or what are the things that they seem to understand quickly, or any takeaways from the education work you're doing with young people in Japan?
So like the first photo that you showed is just me volunteering as like a career advisor. So I went to Kamaishi in Iwate, like to just inspire them about, like the work that I do as a sustainability consultant, because, in this little tiny town in Kamaishi, they don't have too many job options. And so there's certainly not a sustainability consultant there. So I went there to actually showcase what I do, and that there's a career option of such thing. So they're more reserved, like they they don't really speak up or anything. They're very silent and observant, and so as a speaker, you feel kind of nervous that I may not have made too much impact. But then when you ask them for their opinion, or like the survey results, like they've actually absorbed a lot. So they're kind of silent observers, and they you do make an impact on their lives, such and they do learn a lot. So I feel like that's the case of a lot of times for like very younger people. They're shy towards like someone um new to you, and they don't say too much, but they do have opinions and they do have some thoughts, and they do have questions if you actually ask them. So, and yeah, like so it's really interesting to know what they think about, and it's very important for you to actually ask, like for them to write it down. Otherwise, you cannot get the feedback from
Yeah,
young
for
people.
sure.
Yeah, and then for
And
the
then doing
yeah.
doing these kind of games about what is circular economy, how can you recycle, how can you be a recycle master? The using games as a tool to talk with youth when you're educating, that must be an easier way, to engage, right?
Yeah, so in terms of that, like the two games that you mentioned, the Circular Community and Recycle Masters, they're both from the Gomi no Gakko, the School of Waste, which I'm a partner of. And one is for actually for B2B. The circular committee is for B2B, so for adults, for corporates. It's a role playing card for, and everyone takes a part in a role of a real world situation like city hall manufacturers or plastic producers, or wholesalers and such, and they need to solve like waste challenges together, and it helps like businesses to understand how every department and stakeholders need to collaborate to build a circular economy. So that's more for the, I wouldn't say young, but like for like corporate people to just have that aha moment of like, oh, we need to work together and we need to be more like open-minded and think about the ecosystem and the different stakeholders. And then the recycle masters for the kids and also for adults and everyone is just to educate on the ocean waste and recycling methods and what materials can become, it can become if it's recycled properly. So this one is more interesting because it's just like really like cute characters of like styrophones, like noodle cups, or what like fishnets and such, and you're trying to actually match the materials like the polystyrene and like PET and like aluminum and such with the recycling methods like chemical recycle, material cycle and such, and then try to produce like some other products and such. So a lot of times, like kids actually kind of like get really into it. They go nuts with like, oh, like I want this like pet bottle and such. And then if you do it right before like going to the beach cleanup, like it's very effective because like they learn so much about these like like different kind of materials and what they can do and what it can become. And then they go to the beach clean and then they find the actual like polystyrene and such, and they're like, ah, like I found it, now it can become this like food tray and such. So yeah, like we're trying to actually with these like kind of card games, we're trying to actually, you know, raise awareness of the waste and circular, because most of the times like people just like, you know, put it in a bin and that's it. Like if it leaves their hand, it doesn't really
Don't
matter.
don't think about it after that, right? Like,
Yeah.
the idea of circular is thinking about it from the resources used to make it all the way to the end stage, what happens after you throw it in the bin? And that's often the concept people are not really thinking about, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to change because, back in the days, it was like normal for people to actually like think about the entire product life cycle and the end of life. But these days, like the manufacturers, the consumers, we're so siloed and we only kind of are aware about when it's right in front of you. But once it left our hands, we don't really know what happens.
And you've had some great projects, because it's Hanami season now. It's a good one to talk about. You did a craft beer festival, garbage waste separation section, and I love this part of your notes. You said it had to be something easy for people to use even after they're drinking. I think that's a great standard, right? Like just make it obvious and clear what to put where, have all the pictures there. How did that project go?
Yeah, so this was for the Tsukuba Craft Beer Fest. So it started with sorry, this is gonna be long as well, but like it started with me like being the green team. Like we were frustrated about the in the corporate office, like how the the waste was not like recycled properly. It was not in the right place, like in the plastic. There were like papers and everything all mixed up, and we were frustrated. So we were like kind of like analyzing the waste, and I got well, I was also working for the well, I used to work in Tokyo in the Meguro city, so I was in the waste reduction committee as well, and my fellow committee member was a university professor who was actually studying about the waste design, like waste bin designs and such, and how it affects people. So like I got in touch with him, and then we talked about. I learned a lot about the waste bin like design and like the human behaviors, and then we visited like Muji and like different companies to actually understand the waste design, and we proposed to the MetLife general service, but unfortunately it didn't go through. But I had this like wealth of like knowledge of like the waste bin. So I asked my partner in Gomino Gakko, Terai-san, like, like I have all these like knowledge, like I want to like do something. I don't want to waste it. So he was like, I have a perfect project for you. Like we're actually going to be doing, like managing the waste for the Tsukuba Craft Beer Fest. So that's how I put in all my knowledge, like the colors and like the signs, and like because it's a craft beer festival, like it needed to be something very easy to understand even if when you're drunk. So so for example, like the waribashi, the chopstick, I made it like voting, like are you tipsy or are you drunk? And then people were like really enjoying, like, "Ah, how am I? Like I can't even like think about it. I think I'm too drunk." And then they would put in a drunk box. And it was a really fun activity, but in hindsight, like I should have considered how drunk people are in the craft beer fest, and they cannot read signs if they're too drunk. So
So
maybe
in
in
that
the
case, pictures or illustrations might be more important, or even having
yeah.
the exact thing that they're throwing in, having the sample of it on the board, and they just follow what's there and put it in. You often
Yeah.
see this, like a lot of visitors always mention, why are there no garbage cans in Japan? And my theory is that it's a labor shortage thing. And I've heard from some local managers that unless they can keep emptying the garbage can, they will take it away because an overflowing garbage can is worse than no
Hmm.
garbage can. Right? And so
Yeah.
you see that. You only see garbage cans in areas now in Japan where people can like empty it regularly. But also you see these staffed areas for garbage for the festivals where the staff are there helping people to put it in the right bin, because when people are drunk or tired, they just put it wherever. And then if somebody puts it in a pile, the pile gets bigger and bigger. There were loads of people from the Hanami parties showing huge garbage piles, right? And then none of that is sorted. So
Hmm.
creating some kind of system where it's easy, it's logical where to put what part of the garbage in what area, but also maybe encouraging businesses around to sell less waste, right? Like having a bigger charge for plastic bags, getting people to reuse their own furoshiki wrapping or their own bento boxes when they go to Hanami, right? Like how to, from many different angles, work on the waste issue. I'd love to hear more of your insights that working with Meguro waste management. That must have been really interesting.
Yeah, like I did learn a lot about, like the local cities kind of point of view. They took me to all of the waste management facilities, like the incinerators and like where all the recycle happens and such. So I learned a lot about the backstories and such. And it's just that, like for the city itself, like collecting the waste costs money. So, like as much as they want to reduce waste and as much as they want to recycle, like, like bringing, um, well, separating and then bringing from one spot to the recycle ports, unless it's like kind of like all together and it's all in the same facility. Otherwise, it's additional costs, like go to like separate places and to try to actually, recycle and such. So it's a sad reality.
Mm. I'm
And
I'm a garbage geek. I admit it. I went to San Francisco for a holiday and I visited the recycling center. I love learning about this stuff. Recology is doing a great job in San Francisco. They in the city center they have a population of 1 million people, but their strategy is the same as Kamikatsu, the zero waste town, how they're trying to separate everything. But the biggest difference, which I hope all places in Japan will implement is mandatory composting. Mandatory
yeah,
composting reduces waste immediately by 30%. And I was really skeptical, but then I saw it in San Francisco. I saw it in Kamikatsu. I tried it in my house. And even in my house, it reduced how much waste we were putting as burnable by 1/3. And that's what San Francisco found 30% less. That's what Kamikatsu found. So imagine how much carbon we would reduce. All the garbage trucks would have less weight, less gas they need to go to and from neighborhoods to the incinerators. Incinerators would need less energy to burn the garbage, right? And it helps the soil, right? Goes back to nature. So I would love to see more mandatory composting in Japan.
I'm with you. Like I've been pushing for, for mandatory compost. Like I'm jealous of Korea actually having to impose, that kind of like tax on
Isn't
on
that
on
interesting?
composters.
They if
Yeah.
for anybody who doesn't know, in Korea, you in the cities, you take your waste and you pay with a garbage card, and you pay by the weight of your food waste. And so the less food waste you have, the less you pay. And so it incentivizes people to waste less food, to have less garbage. I thought that was really innovative. I'd be really interested to see how it works. Are people trying to cheat the system or is it actually effective, right? It's always good to reassess after a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I did propose, like compost so many times, but like I guess it's just a Japanese mentality, right? Like
No,
that.
I
Like,
mean,
oh, like
I had the
it's
chance to meet a
mm,
Hiroshima garbage manager.
yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I think composting is amazing. Like we should definitely do it." But it's that change in mindset from the government, the leadership to make the investment for how to do it. Because everybody has the community garbage areas, right? So how would you do a composting area? In San Francisco, everybody has their own bins in front of the house. So it's just your compost and then it's picked up by the garbage truck. So it's a different situation, right? And we have to
Yeah.
really kind of localize each area.
Definitely. And like, like you have to think about Tokyo is like super condensed. And they're very like when I spoke to the city, like they were very nervous about the smells and like the bugs and such, like the risks that they need to take, the complaints from the neighbors, imaginary neighbors, I would say, because I don't know where these voices are coming from, but that was their excuse. Like, like, oh, we considered it, but yeah, like, people don't want it. Like the because of the smells and the bugs. I'm like, there's so many ways to actually like not have the smells and the bugs. Like, like
Yeah.
this
In fact,
composting is like,
in
yeah,
I talked with I know that you're connected to James Hollow as well,
yeah,
Fabric.
yeah, yeah.
And I did short videos with him when I visited his office in Nakameguro,
Yeah,
and
they're
so
warm.
that's a similar area. And they're doing worm composting, another kind of composting where the bags are picked up in these felt bags. There are solutions,
Hmm.
already in place. It's just whether it can be scaled, right? Is one of the big questions, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. I think we've talked about the repair, cafes, the repair
Ah,
workshops. Such a great initiative. Can you talk about that?
yeah, so now I'm working with through Kombino Gakko, like I'm working with Kameoka City, the city that I am in, on their like green learning programs and such. So this city is really unique because they're actually trying really hard to be environmentally friendly. So they've banned like plastic bags. So there's no plastic bags in the supermarkets or anything here. And they're really trying to make a difference by actually incentivizing for people to actually do more repairs instead of recycling. They see more opportunities in repairing and actually like elongating the life cycle of the product. So they're gonna well, we're going to be running, it's already up and running, but every 28th of the month, like we have this repair cafe that anyone can actually come and stop by with whatever items that they want to repair, like whether it be clothes or furnitures or anything, like they come and then um, whoever that's there, like we kind of like see it and try to like fix it somehow. We have tools and we have some of the experts like the furniture company, like woodcraft person maker, or like someone who's like really good at sewing and such. And it's a fun event, and that's going to happen every 28th, and then on every 18th of the month, like we also are going to be running like green learning programs. So the idea is to actually educate people on how recycling works and such. So potentially, this is just an idea, it's not confirmed, but potentially maybe like get unwanted clothes and then we'll make a thread out of it, and then we'll actually create something out of it. Or like, plastic, like we gather plastic and then we actually re repurpose it and make a tumbler holder, like a cup holder or something. We do it with Starbucks already, so maybe do that with the Kamioka citizens and such. So just to raise awareness about like how the waste is flows, and also how you can repurpose or repair and such. Yeah.
And also to see how difficult things are to reuse or repair. Oh, maybe we shouldn't use so much of that. Maybe I won't buy that next time because it's really difficult to get rid of. It's really difficult to reuse. Kamikatsu almost always talks about the most difficult thing is the mixed material,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the heated rugs, which are filled with electrical wires, plastic wires, and then you've got fabric. And to really try to reuse or even recycle any of that, you have to take it all apart. So they do seminars bringing the designers of the products in to make them take it apart. And then they realize, hey, maybe this is not the best design. Maybe we should make it easier to take apart and dispose of or reuse in some way, right? We've
It's
got
true.
Tova here from LinkedIn. Great to see you, Tova. She said, such
Hi,
a brilliant
Tova.
idea. Fantastic to have more repair cafes, repair mindset, right?
Definitely, yeah. It's quite amazing because like the last time, like this, someone who I knew, like I asked him to come. We're doing this repair cafe, and like he brought this like necktie, and the loop that you put the tie, the the back part of the tie was off, and it's just a matter of just sewing that bit. But he was like, oh, I didn't know what to do, so I was gonna throw it away. I'm like, that's just little tiny sewing. But he was about to throw it away, so he was really like delighted that he can actually wear it again. So I'm glad that I actually asked him to come, because it's those people that I want them to realize that it's just that little tiny extra bit that you just have to do to maintain that item for a longer time.
Yeah. I think it's just the lack of thinking that there is an option, because we are bombarded every day with marketing about buy and then just throw it away, buy a new one. Is yours old? Buy a new one. The new to throw it away and stop thinking about it mindset is the most common, right? So of course people don't really think, "Oh, I really like this. Oh, it's just a small problem. Oh, I can repair it?" It's like a new
Mm.
idea, right?
Yeah. I usually say, like being circular is more like a survival skill, like upgrading your survival skill because like you're being more resourceful, like getting ideas of, oh, what can I do with this like item or broken item, like how can I repair this or how can I repurpose this? Like those are really about survival. Like if things happen and you only have like the items in front of you, what are you gonna do, And by having that kind of circular mindset, like you are going to be resourceful and you have a better chance in, in surviving if anything happens. So that's the approach that I'm taking to actually sell to people, like we have lots of natural disasters and you won't have like dice all the time, like the 100 yen store you cannot go, it might shut down, like what are you going to do? Like why don't you become resourceful?
Yeah. That's great. When people are asking you, like as a business or even as individuals, what's something they can do to get started to have a more sustainable lifestyle or a more sustainable business? Is there one thing that you would suggest to get started on? Some easy change that people could do?
The individual business.
Both or either. You choose. So, for example, okay,
Mm.
if you're talking with a business, you could ask, "Are you using plastic water bottles?" What's something they could do instead of plastic water bottles?
Yeah,
I
like
really put you on the spot here.
I'm more about reducing the consumption. I mean,
Yeah, right?
the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm more about, kind of like thinking about whether how you're gonna take care of the item that you're gonna buy. Like are you you know,
Or not have to buy it,
yeah, not have
right?
to buy
So
it and
that could be the first option. Maybe not buy plastic water bottles for your hotel. Why not aluminum? Why not glass, which has a higher rate of actually being recycled in Japan?
mm,
Or even better, have a filtered water
exactly, yeah.
refillable bottle that you can have with your hotel brand on it to really even reduce the need. So you don't have to buy it in the first place and then you don't have to waste it, right? And it elevates your brand and the visitors usually like it better, right? The customers do. So little
Yeah.
little strategies like that, right?
Yeah, so like I feel like the challenge that we all have is that we don't have this like ecosystem thinking of like how the material is produced and how it's going to be wasted and such, like when so as we talked about, like people are only see what's in front of them and they don't really think about, like the before and after of it. So having that mindset actually would actually deter you and have pause before buying. So I would like to actually, for people to be more conscious about that. So, before you buy, like, is this really necessary? And then, you know, is there an alternative? Like, what do you have in the house that you can actually repurpose it for? And then afterwards, if you actually going to buy that item, like, so like if, you cannot use it for the purpose that you had, like how can you repurpose it or do something else with it?
Or buy it secondhand is another option, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah.
I think what you do by showing the different ways, by bringing your own chopsticks, right? By bringing your own cup, by bringing your own bottle, by choosing the vegan option, you're also showing how you can do strategies, right? So when you're in a meeting or in a seminar, like just pointing out, oh, today I brought my own chopsticks and my own bag and my own bottle. And these are little things you could do, like just a quick mention. You don't have to like lecture anybody about it, right? But I think you just modeling these behaviors is also really a wonderful way to inspire people, right?
Yeah, I do enjoy when, like it sparks conversation about, oh, like you have your own chopsticks, and or like, like I get from my friends like, oh, like I brought my own chopstick because I knew that I was gonna see you. I'm like, okay. I'm glad I inspired you to actually, change your behavior. But yeah, I'm like those are my kind of way to like non-verbally kind of like persuade people to realize about little things, and yeah,
Yeah. Have
it
you ever
works.
had anyone who, meets you or sees you and then tries to hide something? And they're like, "Oh, no, it's Ellie. I'm using, like, a plastic water bottle. I'm so sorry." Like, people actually apologize to me
I
sometimes. I'm
know.
like, "Don't apologize." There's so little choices, right? The reality is we have so few choices. I don't blame anyone for using plastic or buying plastic water bottles. That is so hard still, right? But
Yeah,
there are strategies, there are options if you're looking for them. And so just praising the wonderful ideas, praising the successful strategies, that's the more like positive, optimistic view. It seems to work better, right?
definitely. My food packaging is just really really too much in Japan, and a lot of the foreigners come here, they're like, whoa, so much plastic. But yeah, like, as much as you want to be zero waste, like if you're living in Japan, it's really hard to be zero waste. But little by little, we're progressing, and by voicing the inconvenience of actually separating the plastic and actually taking off the labels and put it in the recycling bins, and that's actually troublesome. So like raising those voices um actually helps for the manufacturers and the wholesalers and such to actually change their designs and such. So I think little by little, the consumers are um, actually reevaluating that the current status and current way of how we live, and
I love to hear
yeah,
that you're hopeful. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
I think
Do you have
so.
any projects coming up you wanna talk about, or do you have any hope for the next 5 years in Japan? Things that you would really like to see happen or change in terms of sustainability or sustainable business or development? Anything that stands out?
Yeah, like the projects coming out is definitely like the one that I mentioned about like autonomy, that we're gonna be doing the cultural immersion program to bring to inspire the businesses to to change to sustainable, like to get inspiration out of the craftsmen and such in Japan. And so that's one of the projects. And the card games and such, like we still do it for corporates or like kids and such. So those are also a way to actually raise awareness. And the Finland program and the all pretty much all of my educational programs are going to be like going forward as well,
And you're
keeping.
also teaching or learning tea ceremony and kintsugi yourself, right?
Yeah, like I do kintsugi. I have the bowl. Yep. Yes, I do kintsugi. I teach as well, and tea ceremony as well. I'm trying to become a licensed professor for that, and so I can teach, and just for people to understand the Japanese culture, and also like to there's a lot of elements of sustainability in both kintsugi and tea ceremony. So it's another way for me to actually inspire people about how to live circular and how to live sustainably.
But
Yeah,
also how to live with beauty, how to preserve
definitely.
traditional culture, right? It's
Yeah.
kintsugi is something a lot of visitors often comment on and say, "Where can I buy kintsugi pottery?" And I'm like, "You can't. Usually it's like a beloved piece of pottery. It breaks, so you repair it so you can keep it." But I think there's actually a market for kintsugi beautifully repaired pottery for the visitors. They love, the idea of kintsugi, and they often don't have a chance to do a workshop while they're here. So, what a nice thing that you're starting to teach. That's lovely.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we've talked about so much. Oh, there was one more thing, getting community agriculture programs. You want to talk quickly about that? Community supported agriculture.
Um, it's gonna take a little bit long.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but the
Maybe next time. We'll talk about
yeah,
that next time. But agriculture, of course, having your own food resources, the big decline in farmers in Japan. So it's great to encourage more people to grow their own food where they live. There's so much potential for that. So I'm so glad
definitely.
that's
Yeah.
one of the wonderful projects you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Ellie, for joining and for
Thank
sharing
you.
all your wonderful projects. Best of luck with all your projects this year. Maybe we can re do another talk maybe in a year's time and you can tell us about your new projects and how things have been going.
Thank you, Joy. It was such a pleasure talking to you. It was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. All right. Have a good day, everyone. See you next